There was a black box. The electrical equipment was a black box, but actually AI sort of opened their eyes to see what is actually going on inside, and it actually made it more transparent. So now we can actually move sort of to a smart maintenance, if you can call it like that, right?
Welcome to the AI and Scale podcast. This is a show that invites AI practitioners and AI experts to share their experiences, challenges, and AI success stories. These conversations will provide answers to your questions. How do I implement AI successfully and sustainably? How do I make a real impact with AI? Our podcast features real AI solutions and innovations, all of them ready for you to harness, and offer a sneak peek into the future. Hi, I'm Gosia Górska, and I'm the host of the Schneider Electric AI at Scale podcast. I'm very pleased to introduce today Natasha Nelson. Natasha is Vice President EcoStruxure Power for End User and Chief Technology Officer of Services. She specializes in secure digital business, digital strategy, and energy management. She has more than 20 years of international experience in energy management, IoT, travel, and hospitality industries. Welcome, Natasha.
Thank you. Thank you, Gosia. Nice to be with you.
The topic that I wanted to start today is about everything is smart and everything is getting smart, partially thanks to artificial intelligence, but also to other technologies. So we have smart watches, smart washing machines, smart homes. When it comes to your area of expertise, do you see the coming of smart power systems? Are they also getting smart?
Yes, very good question. They are, in fact, getting smart. We call them active. That means they are actively communicating and emitting the signals. You know, the power systems that are really comprised of electrical equipment and the controls, and typical examples would be medium voltage or low voltage switch gears, transformers, UPS, cooling systems. So everything on the electrical single line diagram, they're all becoming smart. And what's interesting is these systems typically would last 40 plus years. When our customers buy them, they buy them for a very long time. And what that means is that these systems will have to be future-proofed, because in the next 40 years, we will all go through the energy transition. And the way these systems are used, they really need this intelligence. They need to be active, they need to be smart in order to prepare for this massive electrification trend that is ahead of us. And so with this trend, we see that the companies are shifting the way they operate these power systems. They will be faced with weather conditions, with scarce technical resources, with a new, much more complex energy system. And therefore, it's kind of necessary that the systems we build today are smart, and they're becoming smart right away from our factories, from our manufacturing.
Yeah, that's a big difference, because if you think about the smartwatch, you usually buy it for a few years and then you need to change mainly because of the battery. But then when it comes to power systems, you mentioned 40 years, this is really impressive. So what does it mean exactly for such systems to be smart?
Yeah, so of course, the systems themselves, they are equipped with sensors and a lot of electronics, right? So these sensors, they sense everything. They sense temperature, humidity, cables, some chemical composition, external factors. But then by itself, that's not enough. So the data is then transmitted, and there's a lot of analytics, predictive analytics. A lot of them are powered by AI and machine learning. And then from these analytics, we start to detect anomalies, trends, aging, operations, patterns. We can correlate multiple variables. And that allows us to know, is there a risk? Is it changing any kind of maintenance? We can get much, much smarter about how and when we need to do maintenance, and that's what we focus on about. But then the question is what to do about it. So once you have the analytics, we need to pair it with the expertise. Somebody who can say, hey, I see this pattern or this trend, so what? And so here we pair these, let's say, all the outcome of all these analytics with our domain. We call it domain expertise. And here we have experts. And here again, we're leveraging AI to kind of supercharge that expertise as well.
Okay. So in a sense, the first layer are all the sensors that are directly at the power systems, and they are, as you mentioned, connecting with other systems. They are basically capturing all this information, but then the intelligence come when you have a domain expert and when you have AI to basically do more advanced analytics. And could you give an example of a company that is already benefiting from these smart power systems, and what do they appreciate the most? How does it look like in practice?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let me give you an example of Nestle. So Nestle and NES Cafe specifically, one of their largest soluble coffee factory is located in Mexico. They're producing 1 million jars of soluble coffee, operating 365 days a year, and simply cannot afford any downtime. However, they have experienced this downtime in the past several times, causing productions to falter, and that was costing them $52,000 per hour. These losses, and the detrimental factor that made them rethink their maintenance strategy was a single disruption in April of 2020. There was actually a short circuit inside an unmonitored section of the main substation and resulted in a 14-hour shutdown. So you can imagine the math behind. And so it was costing them upwards of $580,000 in losses, exactly, just this one incident. And this section was really not connected. There was no IoT, no analytics, and the engineers weren't alerted that the equipment was at risk. So they decided to move from a reactive maintenance, meaning that somebody comes once a year and checks, to a predictive maintenance approach. So first they modernized their production equipment outfitted it with all the sensors that we recommended. They subscribed to a service plan that monitors this equipment in real time. And they were able to avoid 3 stoppages per year. And then they get real-time remote visibility on all of their electrical assets' health. They ensure business continuity. And of course, they increase operational efficiency of how they operate the factory and how they do maintenance in the first place. So pretty happy outcome, pretty happy customer there.
Yeah, it makes me think of a funny metaphor, because we usually say that AI is a bit like a black box, that you don't know what's happening inside. But actually, in this case, the black box was actually at the premise. This was the area that was not connected, that nobody had the visibility on, and this was causing actually some risks for the company. So this is really interesting. And let's talk about the people in this case. How does it change the life of employees operating on these systems?
Yeah, sure. It's a very good question. Thank you. Because, maintenance activity is typically people's jobs, right? And somehow that doesn't really change. But now that, like you said, there was a black box, the electrical equipment was a black box, but actually AI sort of opened their eyes to see what is actually going on inside, and it actually made it more transparent. So now we still need to do maintenance, but maybe sometimes we don't need it when we don't need it. Maybe we need it sooner than we had thought. And we can actually move sort of to a smart maintenance, if you can call it like that, right? Because you do maintenance when it's needed. You're not only able to plan it better, know it better, and do it when it's really needed, but you become more efficient in the use of your resources, and you extend the life cycle of your equipment that is meant to last a long time. Another good example for the people side is avoid unnecessary shutdowns. Shutdowns can be planned or unplanned. So even if it's planned, it's still kind of a arduous task, right? You need to find the time. You need to coordinate everything. You need to prepare, these shutdowns for such factories. They're difficult, but they can be avoided. Why to have it in the first place if it's not necessary, right? And that really helps people to allocate their time to something more productive and better use of their time, instead of planning a shutdown that is not necessary. The third most common impact on people is the avoidance of risk of electrical failure, right? These events, like the one I just described from Nestle, they could be quite stressful because there's loss, first they're unexpected, then there is a loss of production time. It could be quite devastating. So eliminating that, also helping people to feel, first of all, safer, feel sort of a peace of mind, and really knowing that, it's covered and they can be focused on something much more productive as far as how they will use their time. And for service technicians, they really need to then focus only on what is the highest area of risk and become more preventative, anticipating things in the future, and have a peace of mind that the monitoring service is taking care of the risk.
Yes. You mentioned one thing that caught my attention, because it was also mentioned in the conversation between ARC analyst Colin Mason that he recently had with our Chief AI Officer, Philippe Rambach. They were talking about the link between using AI solutions and sustainability. And one area that is, for me, absolutely not obvious is how we can use AI in the context of services to extend the lifespan of assets. Could you explain a bit more the concept?
Yes. Well, like I said previously, the equipment and its components are meant to last 40 years, right? I mean, depending on if some is shorter, the other one is longer, but it's meant to last. And besides being ready and future-proofing for the energy transition, we also carefully track the aging of the key components of this equipment. So we have this aging framework that knows how and when each component of the system will age, and is it aging faster than expected, or not. And so we calculate this composite maintenance index and propose a maintenance window. And we know with a pretty high level of precision what and when, how it needs to be replaced or retrofitted, and when certain parts need to be ready. So what does that mean? It's just like with our cars, if I can give you another example. If you take good care of your car, you will keep your car for a much longer time. If you maintain it, if you take care of it, you prolong the life of your car. It's the same with a power system. And these power systems, they take a lot of energy and a lot of raw material to manufacture, to deliver, to assemble, to build. So if you are avoiding having to replace all, in parts of it, big parts of it, or all of it, when it's not necessary, and if you make it live a few years longer, you have just made a pretty good impact on the environment. You're basically avoiding unnecessary depletion of natural resources and unnecessary use of manufacturing facilities, transportations, and so on. Just let me give you some facts, right, on this one. So the use of our maintenance index can extend the maintenance life cycle up to 5 years. Right, compared to corrective, reactive, break-fix methods, preventative and predictive maintenance savings can reach 12 to 18%. And finally, our research reveals that more than 67% of breakdowns can be avoided through formalized maintenance services. So you see, the impact is not small.
Yeah, that's huge, actually. 5 years, this is really a long time. Here we talk about predictive analytics, and of course, we cannot have an episode without mentioning what's happening on the Gen AI side. And I've seen your recent blog written with two colleagues also from Schneider Electric, in which you mentioned 3 ways that Gen AI is helping our services experts. Can you share a bit more about this?
Yeah, exactly. So when we think about our systems and our equipment, we think that they're becoming active or smart, right? Because we have all the sensors and now they emit data, so they're active. But when it comes to Gen AI, we think more about our people, because Gen AI is helping people and our service technicians in particular, and we think of it as we're giving them superpowers. Our people are acquiring superpowers. So we have this parallel, which I think is really great. So Gen AI is helping in 3 ways. And I come back to the service topic. First, there are tasks associated with drafting predictive maintenance recommendations. So we got the data, we got all this smart analytics, but actually what is step 1, step 2, step 3, when should I do? So these recommendations is a written report And this is the first superpower that Gen AI is helping to create. In the past, you see these recommendations just were based on standard maintenance procedures. And today, Gen AI helps to draft a very custom, very tailored for you, giving the history of your installation, what exactly should be the maintenance process. And it creates the first draft in seconds. And then the engineer can finalize with their real knowledge and prepare maintenance recommendations. This is number one. A superpower number two is a virtual expert. This expert is a virtual assistant is built for internal, for our service technicians. So it's sort of an expert of an expert, if you can call it like that. In our technicians, they are able to ask a chatbot a very technical question because they are in front of equipment from all kinds of different, sometimes it's 10, 15, 20 years old, and, there could be different indicators. There's a vast library that we carefully curated for them. And they're asking library a question in real time. That's what Ask an Expert is about. And the third superpower that Gen AI is helping is really summarizing the insights more efficiently. These teams, they sometimes they need to just give a summary to the customer, and it may sound pretty trivial, but it is very, very helpful because they write a quarterly report. This quarterly report is formally delivered, or annual report, and it's formally delivered as part of the service contract. And now sometimes they take hours to summarize a vast amount of information. And really, it's not a super good use of their time. So it's kind of a very nice superpower to just summarize something so complex and long. And, Gen AI speaks a very good English or very good language. It could be Spanish, could be French. So we summarize and then we translate. And I think that's really, really a nice and very important superpower number three.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a great assistant. So on one side, we have smart systems. On the other, we have superhero services experts.
Exactly.
My last question would be, what kind of advice you can give to our audience from the business sector, where they should start if they want to prepare for the energy transition, to be less vulnerable about the extreme weather conditions and other disruptions? So in short, how to get to the point of having smart power systems?
Yes. Well, look, what we recommend to most of our customers, of course, is to what we call understand their install base. Maybe you can start with very simple assessment of what they have, which assets are critical, which assets are not critical. We're very happy to have that small consulting engagement to help with that. And then we can certainly recommend where to start, what to digitize first, what to connect, what should be monitored. And we also are very happy to advise our customers on their electrification journey to help them prepare for electrification as well. And so these are the kind of consulting efforts that we do a lot for our customers. And once they get started, we then kind of craft a plan together and go step by step.
Yeah, that's really a great advice. Thank you, Natasha, for joining us today. I really appreciate the time and the fact that you had shed some light on how we are using AI at scale in power systems. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Kostya.
Thanks for joining us today on AI at Scale podcast. Be sure to visit our se.com/AI website and learn more about our AI at Scale solutions. Head over to our Schneider blog platform to read more. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your preferred platform and share it with your network. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for the next episode.